Well, howdy there, folks, and welcome into this video. So I hope you enjoy this one today. I'm going to give out kind of a lot of information about some of the sacrifices you have to make, some of the work you have to actually put in to actually reach like millionaire status young. And as being somebody that reached, millionaire or multimillionaire status in my 20s, I want to kind of run you through a little bit about like sacrifices I made and those sorts of things to kind of get to those type of levels, because some people see like, oh man, it'd be so great to be a millionaire young and things like that. And there's definitely elements that are freaking amazing. Okay. But what a lot of people don't understand is it is a grind to actually get there. And a lot of times you have to make a lot of sacrifices that other people, just to be quite frank, sometimes aren't willing to make. Right. And so I kind of want to go into this a little bit. This is a video back in the day I would probably put on my main channel or something like that. I used to do a lot of these, informative videos or just motivational videos and things like that. But, over time, the channels just got so big that, it became about the algorithm and views and things like that. So I just appreciate the fact that I have this channel and I'm able to give out value like this in this type of format, because sometimes I crave like being able to give out this type of information, talk about these sorts of subjects. These just don't do the views on the other type of channels. But thanks for you guys being here on this channel, and I'm glad you guys enjoy some of these videos where I'm kind of giving some game on something other than 3 stocks I'm buying or something like that, right? Because there's a lot of information I have and a lot of things I've done that are outside of just like stocks I'm buying and things like that. So if you don't mind, smash a thumbs up, and let's talk a little bit about this. So kind of sacrifices started before I even reached my 20s when it came to moves I was willing to make and things like that. Like when I was 18, 19, I was working 3 part-time jobs. Let's talk about that for a moment, okay? You can say, well, why 3 part-time jobs? Why not start your own business? Why not, just get one really good job or something like that? Like it was 2008, 2009, okay? And I was not in the position to get any type of high-paying job. I was not mentally prepared to start my own business or run my own business. I was trying, but it just was failures. It was like, I wasn't at the levels I needed to be at that particular time. I wasn't ready for that. And so I was working, at one point I was working Walgreens part-time. I was working Einstein Bagels part-time, a little above minimum wage. And then I was doing a pool route on Saturdays for my dad, which, by the way, giving up Saturdays to clean pools is not the most fun thing in the world. But, I was doing that while 3 part-time jobs, while taking 12 to 15 credit hours in college and being a full-time athlete, running track, and plus all the other things that go along with, being an 18, 19-year-old. And so I was already on my grind from the get-go. Like, as soon as I started kind of making money and doing things, I was like, okay, man, if I'm trying to get to where I'm trying to get, like, I need to, put in the work, and I got to do what I got to do. And like, there was a lot of times I gave up, like, hanging out with friends, and, I had a girlfriend at that time, and, a lot of times I gave up, spending time with her and things like that, because I had to work. And she'd be like, oh, just take the day off. I'm like, hey man, my parents aren't rich like your parents. You know what I mean? Like, I actually got to like work for a living, and like, I actually got to get on this grind. And I know I only make $8.25 an hour, but man, I got to do it. It's like some people, if they come from money, they just don't like get it. Like, hey man, I'm out here on my grind. So everything kind of started before I even got to my 20s. And by the time I got to my 20s, I was already like ready to go. So then, I'm 20 and I apply at Quick Trip and I get that job offer. And like, that was kind of a sacrifice. I had to, decide whether I wanted to already go to working 46 hours a week, standing up, never getting breaks, and like putting in that life, or go like the more comfortable route, which was like going to university. And keep in mind, my grades at that time were freaking amazing. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, me in business classes, accounting classes, anything to do with anything in relation to money, like, your boy's getting a 4.0. Like, there's no other way around that. So, I could have pretty much gone to any university, out there as far as business went. And I was even talking to, some of the top like business schools out there. I don't remember what they were even called, Babson and some of these other business schools. And so I had to kind of decide if I would go super in debt and go to like these business schools or university in general or things like that, or go start working overnights at Quick Trip. Overnights, okay? That almost feels like a step back. Like, go to illustrious business schools or work overnights at a convenience store. But at the end of the day, I was looking at it and I'm like, this is an opportunity where I can go start making $40K plus a year with promotion opportunities, which I know me, I'm a work man, so I'm gonna go make it happen, right? I'm not just gonna stay in the same store in the same position, same salary. I'm gonna work my way up. I'm gonna prove my worth. And so I was looking at it and I'm like, I can just go work at Quick Trip, start sacrificing, start actually building wealth rather than going in a bunch of debt and then still not really be able to focus around work. And that's what I did. And, even when I worked at Quick Trip, like I always took that like super serious and I always, grind it. A lot of people, they just weren't about it like the way I was about it. And I remember, times when, have a family get together or something, my brother would be like, stay out, he'd be drinking, everybody's having a good time. And I'd be like, no, I got to go home, man. I got work in the morning. I got to get up at like, 4 o'clock in the morning if it was a morning shift or if it was an overnight and, got to get ready for that or whatever. And like sacrifices, like, had to give up family time, friend time, and a lot of it because I had this like vision and these goals I was trying to go after and these things I'm trying to do and like where I'm trying to go in the world and where I'm trying to, be positioned and those sorts of things. And it's a lot. And then, fast forward, then I make the decision to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I know literally nobody. I mean, absolutely not one soul. And lucky enough, my girlfriend moved with me, who ended up becoming my wife, down the road. And, we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And that's not a sacrifice. A lot of people don't want to leave their hometown. Let's be honest. They don't want to leave family and friends and things like that and everything they know to go all the way to the other side of the United States. And that was just a sacrifice I was willing to make. And obviously, it proved good. And I moved up the ranks and those sorts of things. And then to leave Quick Trip, a safe, stable job that I was moving up the ranks. I left Quick Trip. I was on the promotion list to get promoted to the next position in the company, and I left that company. So I was making a sacrifice in itself to just kind of say, this safe, stable job, I'm going to go away from this while I'm on the promotion list to be the next person up to get promoted to go ahead and start my own businesses. And then I start my own businesses and it was funny, my wife and we did that interview recently, and she brought up, how my first few years of kind of, running the real estate business, and then I was doing YouTube and things like that, and how I would just spend hours and hours and hours in the office, 7 days a week, every single day working from almost the time I got up to almost the time I went to bed, and, take a break here or there, but just grinding, man, day in and day out for years. And, obviously you look at all these things, and then you could talk about the other thing is like the sacrifice of money. And, when I had limited earning potential, I was very, very conscious of my money and where I spent money and saving money and saying, yeah, I really want that over there, but I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to invest this money because I had very limited earning potential back then. And that's a sacrifice in itself that not a lot of people are willing to do, right? A lot of people, it's like, if they got the money, man, they're buying it. Like, if they want something that's $1,000 and they got $1,000 in their bank account, it's bought, And I was just willing to say, you know what? I have limited earnings potential, and this money, I can invest this, and over time, build it into $1,500, and then $2,000, and then $4,000, then $8,000, $16,000, $32,000, $64,000, $128,000, $256,000, $500 and something $1,000, right? And so it's just all about building. So it's definitely like, let me be very clear. If you want to become a millionaire or a multimillionaire young in your 20s and 30s, it's going to take a lot of focus. It's going to take a lot of grind. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of sacrifice, just flat out. I don't know anybody personally. I've yet to meet one soul personally that became a multimillionaire, or even a millionaire in general, but especially a multimillionaire in their 20s or their 30s for that matter, and didn't work their butts off and make a lot of sacrifices to do it. Everybody I know that's done it has all had tremendous work ethic. I'm just going to be honest with you. There's not many guys that just sit around and, just put in the least effort possible and, are at the barbecue every day and things like that and just, chilling out and watching Netflix for 4 hours every night. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know one person that's ever done it that way. Maybe it exists out there. All the people I know put in tremendous amount of work to actually get there. And so it leads you to think, with all the sacrifice I kind of talk about and those sorts of things and the decision making, are you willing to make those type of moves? Are you willing to sacrifice friend time? Are you willing to potentially cut out friends? Let's talk about that for a moment, okay? I've had different friends in my life come and go. And I'll be honest, there were different times in my life when I just understood that those people were either bad influences, or not even that they were bad influences. They were just distractions from my grind. And some people, that are going to be around you, that are your friends at a particular time, aren't trying to go where you're trying to go. And let's be very clear, there's a very small percentage of the world's population that is millionaire status, and especially multimillionaire status, right? And especially young, very, very small percentage of the world's population, which means essentially most people you're going to come across are not trying to go where you're trying to go if that's what you're trying to do. And so sometimes you're going to have to even cut off good friends that aren't necessarily, it's not like they're into a bunch of bad stuff. It's just that they're very distracting, and they have a lot of drama, and they have a lot of time attention. And if you don't give them that time attention, they're going to look at you jadedly, and they're going to, almost kind of be like, why are you not paying attention to me? Oh, you care more about money. Oh, you care more about this thing than me. And so it just leads to kind of like a bad situation there, right? And so sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes family members, close family members, sometimes you're going to have, like if you're trying to grind and you're trying to go where you're trying to go, sometimes you're going to have to pretty much almost cut them off. Sometimes they're not going to understand that you need to put in the work. And you need to read this annual report. You need to listen to this conference call. And they want to go out to eat. They want to do this. They want to play video games. They want to, watch. They want to go to the movies with you. They want to go to the club. They want to do this. And you're actually like doing this other stuff. Like the amount of nights I spend, especially, still nowadays, but especially, at the ages when it's all about going out and clubbing and partying, which I don't regret missing that stuff at all. Let me be very clear about that. Not even 1%. But a lot of people think about, oh man, I'm going to miss these opportunities if I am staying home and putting in grind hours, work hours toward investing or business or whatever you're trying to do. And so you got to ask yourself, like, are you willing to do that? Because there's going to be trade-offs with everything. There's no like perfect scenario. There's always going to be trade-offs. There's never going to be a perfect scenario. I was watching a speech by Bezos recently. It was kind of like an interview. It was done a few years ago. And he was talking about, like, no matter what you do in life, whatever you're doing, there's going to be elements of that you don't like. And you have to accept that. You have to accept that. And so if you're trying to go from wherever you're at to $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, whatever the number is, right? There's going to be elements and decisions you have to make that you don't like. Bottom line. There's no perfect scenario. There's no Cinderella story here where you don't have to work hard, you don't have to make sacrifices, and you have to make decisions that you don't want to make. Bottom line, okay? I've had to make a lot of tough decisions in my life to get to where I'm at. That's just the bottom line. And then if you are trying to go there, right? And let's say you're trying to put in the least amount of work possible, right? You don't care about investing. You don't care about money. You don't care about any of that, right? Then you're making also trade-offs, right? Because then that mortgage payment is like come due, and then you don't have the money for it, and you're like, how do I come up with the money? And then the car bill and your car gets repossessed, right? And so you're always under that type of stress where you don't have enough money to make ends meet, right? Or maybe you made a little bit of money, but you don't have enough to retire. And so you got to keep working when you just want to retire and you want to enjoy, let's say, your grandkids or something like that. So it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. There's always going to be sacrifices you have to make. There's always going to be hard decisions you have to make. It's just a question about which routes are you really trying to go and what are the best ones for you. And so looking at your own life, like, obviously I'm a stock market investor and this is like what I do. And I have, the majority of my wealth is tied up in the stock market, right? And like, are you willing to read the annual reports? Are you willing to listen to conference calls? Are you willing to put in the grind hours and be researching on your iPad or your phone or your computer or whatever while other people are watching Netflix all night and everybody's tweeting about that show they just watched, right? I'm a sports fan. You know how many sporting events I missed out on watching that I really wanted to watch, right? Especially football. While I was working at QT and while I was starting my businesses up and things like that, I missed so many games that were ones I wanted to see. But at the end of the day, distractions from my vision, where I was trying to go. And I could have made the decision to watch all those sporting events I wanted to watch, right? I could have. I probably wouldn't be here today, and probably wouldn't be in the position I'm in today if I had made those sorts of decisions, right? And if I look back at my life, I'm like, each step that I made a sacrifice or made a tough decision, I could have made another decision, and it probably would have led me to not the place I'm in right now, right? It takes a lot of this and that to get to where you're trying to get to. And the interesting thing about, putting in a lot of work is I always found this with fitness. So, I grew up being an athlete, right? I played football all through high school, ran track in college. And what I always found is when you work so hard and you get your body in such good shape, that you could technically take at least a couple years off, as long as you don't go completely off the rails with your diet or something like that. As long as you live somewhat of a normal diet, you could take years off and actually still be in fairly good shape. You could still be able to run pretty fast. You could still actually have decent muscles and things like that when you've worked that hard, because you're at such a level so high. You're so high as far as the level. If you're a sprinter, you're a football player, you're a serious basketball player, you're in such unbelievable shape. You could technically take a few years off and your body would still be in decent shape. It wouldn't be anywhere remotely close to where it was, but compared to the average person, you're likely going to be in way better shape than they are, even though if you didn't do anything for a couple of years, just because you put in so much grind. And so the interesting thing is, I don't have to work nearly as hard at stock market investing nowadays than when I was 18, 19, 20, 21. Because now we have a gauntlet of companies in my mind all the time that I just need refreshers on. And when I look into a company, I know how to do it a little bit faster. And nowadays I can go through an annual report in a few hours because I can read really fast. Back in the day, man, I was horrible at reading. When I first started reading annual reports, 18, 19 years old, I was actually really bad at reading. Really bad. Now I can go through an annual report in hours, man. And before it was days. And so I actually feel like work-wise, because I put in so much grind time, that it's actually gotten to points now where it's easier for me to do stuff than it was before. And that just comes with anything in life. When you put in a lot of work, it's going to become easier over time. And you're going to be able to do things faster and better than you were before, okay? And so, I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about this because, I don't think this is talked about enough out there. Everybody sees the success and everybody sees the homes and the cars and the money and the stocks and the real estate and whatever it is, right? From, folks that are successful. But they don't a lot of times see the grind that went into it, the sacrifices, the work. And if you understand the sacrifice and the work you have to put in, it becomes easier to make that decision. If you want to go down that route, you're like, no, that's not for me. There's nothing wrong, if trying to do those sorts of things, become a millionaire or multimillionaire and do those sorts of things, respect. But it's easier to make that decision if you know the reality behind it, because a lot of people want to be in that position where they can, I don't even know what my mortgages are. I'll be honest, I don't know what the mortgage is on this house. I don't know what the mortgage is on the Arizona house. I don't know what the mortgage is on the new house. I don't know, I don't even know what my auto insurance company is. I don't know what my homeowner's insurance company is. I don't know how much the cell phone bill is. I don't know any of that, because nowadays I just have enough that it's irrelevant whether it was, a mortgage is $4,000 or $6,000 or $2,000. It doesn't matter, right? And if you want to get to that level, you just got to understand a lot of work and a lot of sacrifices to get to that sort of place. It's immense. And it gets easier to make those sorts of decisions if you know the reality. And the reality is a lot of grind and a lot of decision making that a lot of people just aren't willing to make. And you got to ask yourself, are you willing to make it or not? So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, just kind of a, video coming from my perspective on a subject like this. If you don't mind, smash the thumbs up. And I enjoyed this talk. I love kind of sharing some knowledge out there, man. Peace. Hope you guys have a great one.